Boy oh boy, have I got some news for you. 27 Buckingham Road in Bockham Hills. It sold for an eye-watering price. And the owners of 86 Iberia Street in Padstow, they took a gamble. Now I'll explain shortly why I believe they took a gamble. But more importantly, today is gonna be a special episode of How Much Will It Sell For? We will be looking at some luxury and properties, somehow that they are unique, and each property that we look at, I will be escalating, meaning one will top the other, and the last one is absolute cherry on top. It's gonna get exciting, I promise you that. So let's get started with today's episode of How Much Will It Sell For? Why are we doing this? Now, every serial renovator, developer, property flippers, they keep an eye at the market. And that is exactly what we are doing. And we're having a bit of fun along the way as well. So let's begin with the episode number 4. So today let's start with the sold prices first. As mentioned earlier, 27 Buckingham Road in Bockham Hills sold for $6 million. Now I was estimating $4 to $4.5 million. $6 million seems like there is an element of risk there. Or they might be able to slice the particular piece of land in more number of pieces, so the overall profit might be a little bit more. Only time will tell if that is the case. 86 Iberia Street in Padstow. Now, why did I say that the owners took a gamble? You see, what happened is, on the day of auction, the highest bid was $1.78 million. I said my estimation was that it would reach 1.8, so I was just short by $20,000. Very close, right? What the owners did is they did not put the property in the market, and thus the bid was not accepted. They wanted 1.85, $70,000 more. Here's the risk factor. December is coming, which means people will shift their mindset more from property buying to, the holiday season sort of a mindset where people are, with their family and things like that. So what happens is the demand goes down, as does the prices for property. It's a good time to actually go shopping for properties in December. So if that happens, then they will not get their asking price of 1.85. They will have to wait till February for the prices to restabilize again. But next year, there is also some reasons for some people to believe that the prices might actually adjust a bit more and overall market might drop a little bit. If that happens, they will not be receiving their offer of $1.85 million. So I think they should have taken the $1,780,000 also, because under auction conditions, when the hammer falls, the highest bidder will have to pay 10% deposit. That's $178,000 deposit, right? Good cash. And if the buyer backs out, they forfeit or something like that happens, $178,000 is a good money to have. So that's why I think they are taking a gamble. 47 Western Street in Revesby. Previous episode, I did say that it's gonna pass in the auction. Well, sixth sense, it did pass. The maximum bid was $2 million. The owners were expecting 2.1. Hence, the property was passed on auction. Moving on, next property, 25 Temple Street. This was the cute little terrace house. And I spoke to the agent, the owners, they did a bit of work just before putting the property into the market. Fresh paints and brand new ducted aircon, rear shutter is new, and so on and so forth. So when I did the comparable study of what's sold in that area of similar properties, I was finding $2.6 million. However, on the day of auction, the highest bid was $2.23 million. Quite low, right? Apparently the owners were happy to take 2.3, so I was off by $200,000. So this particular estimate I made was quite off. Moving on to 875 Henry Lawson Drive in East Hill. That also passed in auction. The highest bid was 2.5, which is quite much better than what I had anticipated. What the owners actually were thinking is this, that recently, remember, we saw the corner block that sold in Ramsey Street for $2.5 million, which was 1,000 meter squares. The owners of this property, they were thinking that this is 2,000 meter squares, so it should at least get $500,000 more, right? But the issue here is that that was in Picnic Point, a much more premium suburb, and on Ramsey Street, one of the best streets in the suburb. However, this property is in East Hills and on Henry Lawson Drive, which is a higher traffic road. So $2.5 million, I think, was a fair bid. If they will get $3 million, I don't think so. Maybe, the highest they might get is 2.7 or something like that, if provided the market doesn't slide down again. And now the main event, the properties that we are going to be looking at in this episode. Let us start off with 111 Key Road in Kalala Beach. Now, this is in the Jervis Bay area, and this particular property just backs out to the beach itself. There's no fence. There is just, some rope and timber post. You can pretty much walk barefooted out to the beach in the middle of the night, that sort of stuff, right? And the Jervis Bay area in general is a very touristy place. It's very famous for that, right? So Airbnb of that particular kind of property can, in season, reach $1,000 a night. So this can be a very high income sort of a property. And it is also divided in 3 separate residences within the same property, right? So financially, long-term income sort of a situation, this can be a good business proposition, but someone has to run this Airbnb. However, what I was drawn to with this particular property was the beach aspect of it. If we are Airbnb-ing, right, then the nights which is not booked, we can go there and live ourselves, and enjoy the beach life for a day or two. And then it's about 2.5 hours drive away from Sydney. So there is that, right? So both business and pleasure. Next property, 2 and 2A River Street in Birchgrove, very close to the city. And this is a 2-title property itself, 2 and 2A. Currently, it is rented out for $10,000 a month. And it can use a little bit of TLC, it'll come up even more, and I believe in doing so, we can raise the rent more so. But what drew me to it is that little boathouse. It is right at the level of water. Imagine waking up and you're having breakfast with the door open at the back and water splashing in. That part of the Bay Area is actually quite active. There's hustle bustle, there are boats moving and things like that. So something to look at. And the other residences that there are, they have that expansive view of the bay as well. So very awesome sort of a little find. Commercially, it could be very profitable in the long run, depending though. The asking price for that is $12 million. So is it going to pay off? Is it not? That's something to weigh up. But as far as this property goes, I have a soft spot for something like this, that, you are living pretty much on the water. Speaking of water, let's take it up a notch again. Next property we are looking at is 173 to 175 Whale Beach Road in Whale Beach. Now this is very close to Palm Beach area, and this particular property they are asking for $8 million. This is also a 2-title sale, 173 and 175. The house that is on the property could use a little bit of renovation, maybe $300,000-$400,000. It'll come up very nice, and by doing so, it'll probably on its own sell again for $8 million. Like, that's easy. And I say that because let's look at another property that sold in January, just a little bit further north from there, at 24 Norma Road in Palm Beach, and take a look at that view, right? This is renovated. I wouldn't say that this is like very luxury high-end renovation, but it's a clean renovation, decent job, right? Everything is very neatly done, and it's tidy and things like that. But before we move on, look at that window, right? Like you wake up to a view like that, and it's overlooking the Palm Beach and the Barrenjoey Head, and on top there is a lighthouse as well. I wonder what it looks like during the night. So that one sold for $6 million. So that was in January, before the house prices sort of shot up. Hence me thinking that the property in Whale Beach will sell for about $8 million easily. It should, after renovation. Why? Because when we sell it, we will sell just one side of the property, and the other side, that is just bare land, we can spend about $3 million, $3.5 million, something like that, to make another luxury home on it and sell that individually. So there is that opportunity there to make quite a bit of capital gain. However, such things are always subject to due diligence. Why is it that they are selling it like this? Why couldn't they do it or sell it separately? They could easily make more money by selling the two titles separately. What is happening there? So it needs a little bit of more digging into. But regardless, I mean, as far as this particular property goes, a lot of people would desire to buy something like that. It is right on the side of the hill and overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It is one of a kind. Finally, the cherry on top that I promised you I will bring. 3/8 to 10 Knots Avenue in Bondi Beach. Now let me tell you a little bit about Bondi Beach. It's one of the world's most famous beach, right? It is a very happening place and a definite tourist attraction. This particular property is currently under construction and it's going into auction like this. The pictures that they're showing is, of course, artists' rendition and all that. However, the view from there, I know I've been there many times. From that particular point, you can see the entire Bondi Beach in its entirety. So there are times when they hold those concerts and stuff, beach concerts. You can pretty much go to the balcony and watch the concert for free. But that's not all of it, right? They have this 3D rendering of what the finished product would look like. Let's have a look. So, an apartment of this nature, You know, in Bondi area, there are a lot of billionaires out there, I'm sure, and a property like this does not come into market very frequently. It would be a collectible for some billionaire out there, and in saying so, it would be very interesting what it sells for. What would it sell for? I don't really know. There isn't any comparable to go off. I would think easily it should go past the $30 million mark. However, I'll keep you posted what it actually sells for. It is exciting, isn't it? They say that we shouldn't mix business with pleasure, right? But if we are dealing with properties of this nature, pleasure comes automatically. Well, that's all for this episode. I shall see you in next episode of How Much Will It Sell For. I hope you've enjoyed this particular one, and I will see you next time. Until then, you take care of yourself.